Let's start out by redefining a tag. That's something I showed you in that presentation we did at the beginning of this chapter. Open up in the CSS site, open up your Pages folder, and you'll see a tag rule HTML document. Double-click and open that. And if you're in double view like this called split, click the design button. Let's take it right here. We're not going to do a lot of code. We're letting the computer do it for us. Do this too. Come down here and click this button and go into 955 by 600. And these are things we've learned over the previous chapters. It's kind of why it's important to follow the lessons from one chapter to another, because there are things, obviously, I am assuming you know because you went through those chapters. Basic text, paragraph text, that's all this is. Let's come up here to Cascading Style Sheets and just click within that paragraph. Remember, that is a paragraph. Come down here to your Properties panel. I just love this thing. Change the format of that to an H1 heading. Now let's do the same thing to the word external, except we're going to call that an H2. In other words, we're stylizing these things with normal HTML tags. And we'll do one more down here. And there we go. H2, H2, H2. We're done for what we're going to do right now. What we want to do now is look at how we can change these tags using CSS. So I'm going to pull this over here so you can see it. Make sure everybody can see this panel. Here's our CSS Styles panel, and you will notice it says no styles defined. Well, we haven't done that yet. What we're going to do is we're going to redefine the H1 and the H2 styles. Let's start with up here. Click on Cascading Style Sheets. It is not necessary to select something to make a style. Just makes it sometimes a little bit easier. So we're selecting up there, Cascading Style Sheets, actually just inserting inside that text. Click this button right there. That's for creating a new rule. In New Rule, we're going to choose a contextual selector type, and that's going to be tag redefines an HTML element. So click that. It's assuming we want to do the H1 tag. See how that saves us time? Because we're up here. However, if you click here, you get all the tags. Anything you want to do, we can leave that alone. You can add more words in here if you want to. And this one's just basically saying the selector name will apply your rule to all H1 elements. We have a button down here for this document only and new style sheet file. We'll deal with that later. Say this document only. And click OK. Here's all the rules that we can change. Let's give it a font family. Most of the time, headings and subheadings are a sans serif font. So let's go ahead and use, something boring like Arial, Helvetica, sans serif. So we're telling the computer if it doesn't have Arial, use Helvetica. If it doesn't have Helvetica, at least use a sans serif font. Our font size, we can measure in points or pixels, whatever we want to do here. And let's go to 36. Now by 36, that's in pixels, 36 pixels high. If you want to change that to points or something else, you can. Font style, let's do, let's do oblique. Line height, we're going to leave it normal. These are just decorations and things that we do to text. The font weight should be bold, I would think. The variant could be small cap or normal. Let's do small cap. Let's see what that looks like. Text transform, we can capitalize, upper, lowercase, or none. And the color, I don't want to make it a real fancy color, but let's make it a little lighter shade of gray in a sense. So we're going to come down here and maybe select just this one right below it. And so it gives us the color. I don't want to underline it. I really don't like underlining. I don't want to overline it. I don't want to line through. And if you do blink, I will have to hurt you. I'm going to say none on any of the decorations. So we've got the presentation style done. Click Apply to see it. It's not actually too bad. Let's leave that alone. Click OK. What have we done? We have just made, see this triangle? Click it. Our first modification, an H1 style, has been transformed. Let's do H2. This is going to be a little bit different when we apply it. So click External. Just get in that word. It just makes sense. It's easier for us. Click the new button again. All right, we want to apply it, obviously, to an HTML element. And there she is, H2. Same thing. You don't really have to type anything more in there unless you want to. This document only. And click OK. In this case, our font family should probably be the same. Here's a rule of thumb in design when you're working on textual documents, on web or paper. 2 or 3 fonts are all you're really going to want to use here. So we'll use one good font for our headings and subheadings and maybe another good font for our body text. We go Arial, Helvetica, or sans serif. Font size should be smaller, so let's go from a 36, that's what we used before, to a 24. Font style, Tell you what, let's leave this at normal. And line height at normal. Font weight will be bold. Now notice you have a lot of different ways to bold too. You've got bold and bolder or lighter. And then you have these numbers, which are kind of like strokes around it in percentages. We're going to go bold again, use the same option. Font variant, let's just go normal. Text transform, let's just say none. And color, we're going to leave as black. I'm leaving all these things off and clicking none for the decorations. And click apply and watch what happens. Notice it changed all three. Well, remember what this is. We're redefining an HTML H2 tag. Anywhere we used it, it's going to redefine it, and we did an H2 on this one, and this one, and this one, so it did all three at the same time. So there you go. Very simple example, taking CSS to redefine an HTML tag. Easy, very efficient. Don't forget to save this document because we will be using it in the next segment.